What was happening there? We had no music.
Oh.
That was a totally silent start of our episode. Okay, well, let's do it real quick.
Oh, I think you hit the orange instead of the red.
Oh, did I? Was it laughing?
So it started off with laughing. Oh, well.
It's supposed to be scary. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, there we go. Well, we're back on online here. So, hey guys, I'm Bill.
And I'm Lauren.
And we're bringing you the Halloween episode
of Scratching the Surface.
Scratching the Surface podcast, episode number 15, pricing in pet business software. This is a fun one for us. Things are falling down in the studio.
It's the ghost.
Yeah, it's the ghost. There he is. I wondered where he went.
Yeah, Mr. Ghost Man.
Yeah. So this is a scary episode because we're talking about pricing. And it's really important that we talk about that because there's so many different ways that you can price things these days. We always talk about pricing for the pet pros and how they could set that up, but we don't really talk about pricing for our end of things.
Yeah, so the software price. So does more expensive really mean better or vice versa?
We're going to give you an example of where it may not with real world, content and stuff. Again, we're trying to be tactful about this, not call anybody out. So this is supposed to be a general kind of guideline to get you through understanding how some of these software companies are coming up with their pricing, if we can honestly even figure that out these days, and give you some information so that you can make better choices as you're choosing a pet software. So our topic number one is what are you paying for when you're buying a software? And so I would say, all right, so you want me to kick this off? You were just dead silent. I think I had scared you too much, and now it's just like
that was a creepy mask.
I love that thing. There was a mask?
A creepy person. Creepy thing.
Oh. Okay, so number one is access to the software. So number one, some of the things that sometimes pet pros think they're paying for, they aren't necessarily exactly paying for those things. And other things that they don't realize they're paying for is what they are. And the number one thing on the list is access to the software. So you have to have access to the software 100% of the time that you need it. That's something that you're definitely paying for.
Yeah.
What?
I just.
What are you laughing at?
I'm saying yeah, and then I realize I'm yes-manning you.
Yes,
which I'm
man.
not meaning
So
to.
It's also known as uptime, and the uptime is extremely important. So no one can be uptime, have a perfect uptime 100%. That's not going to happen, but it needs to be up 100% of the time that you're accessing it. Excuse me. So the things that we're referring to that could be acceptable downtime would be like scheduled maintenance things that the company needs to make some changes that are significant to the database, that's a gnarly change to make,
Yeah, so sometimes they have to schedule some downtime. Now, that should be when you're not using the software, the middle of the night.
Middle of the night, 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah. So, it shouldn't be longer than that. And it shouldn't be a surprise. Like, hey, look, It's Friday in the middle of the day. What's it called? Night blind software. They're notorious for that. So you end up with an outage in the middle of the day. That's what we're talking about. So you're paying for that software company to keep it online 100% of the time that you need it, which is not necessarily 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah, and then you're also paying for the quality and the performance of the software itself. So is it doing what it's advertised to? Is it a professional system?
Or does it look like it was just thrown together in 3 months using widgets and a bunch of other prepackaged code? Because there are quite a few softwares out there that do that.
If it looks very similar to another one, it's
well, yeah. So, and if you have two platforms, you do your trials and you see the two platforms look exactly the same. I mean, it's because they're using the same code on the back end, but that does not mean that they're actually the same quality, because certain people, one of our spicy competitors, the developer for him, what did I call them? Cinnamon software. Yeah. He was very talented and very good at his job. So he created a software that worked and it did its job well. However, everyone else that came behind him, which seems like there's like 10 more that they saw what he was using and then chose the same framework and tried to replicate it, but it was just not the same quality. So looking at one that looks like the other, they are not necessarily the same quality. And so you have to be very careful with that. So look at what it is that you're doing, and you can get help with this by consulting an actual tech consultant that knows what they're talking about.
Yes. And
what was that, 2 episodes ago?
Yeah, if you need more information, I think it's 2 episodes ago we talked about that.
Tech consultants and business coaches and how to vet those to make sure that they're actually qualified. And so, the two different places you're going to find quality code is going to be from a code base that's a reliable framework, which, everyone that's watched this podcast or knows me knows that I'm not a huge fan of frameworks, but unfortunately in today's day and age, a lot of companies use them because it's much quicker to get the code out. So they're sacrificing certain things for the speed of development. They can what's called a go-to-market plan, and basically that just gets the product from your idea to the world quicker. There are very good ones out there. They're going to be more limited than a custom coded software in particular instances, but there are good ones. So it has to be, if it's using a framework, it needs to be good.
Yeah, what you mean by more limited is like not as like specifically made for the pet industry. So it wasn't made from scratch. So you have to work with what you have.
Yeah, and there's limitations.
Yes.
There's certain stuff you can't do.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, but what are you talking about when you say more limited?
More limited, I mean that if they decided that they wanted the buttons to spin off the page into another screen and then all of a sudden flash out with these pop-ups that do all this other stuff, they can't just do that because that might not be included in the framework.
Yes.
So the framework says, hey, look, put button here. You bring a button and you put it here. Put, form here. What fields do you want? And you fill them in. Yeah, but you don't have that ability to really just create anything you want.
Yeah, and that actually rolls into the next thing kind of. So you want to be paying for a software that's unique. You want to find a software that is actually coming up with the ideas to help businesses.
That fits your business. No, I would say that fits your business. Comes up with something, because it's like art. Not everybody likes art.
That's true. Yeah.
Find the unique one that fits your business. This is the one that you chose because it fits. And so if that company starts copying other companies.
Yeah, if that's all they're doing. If their business plan is to copy the other companies, then
you may have been better off getting that first software.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if they start,
true point.
If you have a software company that says, hey, look, go out to other companies and bring us ideas, you should probably be using those other software companies instead, because the first one that you were talking to doesn't really know what you need.
Yeah, they innovated it. They came up with that.
Yeah, so you're also paying for support, even in the face of calamity. I'm going to go there. So support, whether it's included free or not, like we do in Pawfinity, included free doesn't necessarily mean you're not paying for it. It's just rolled into your subscription price. I mean, everyone does that. The problem that I see is certain companies, they like to shut off their support lines.
Yes, so if they have an outage, they like to shut off their telephones or stop answering emails
whenever something's broken. And so you're paying for that support, whether it's, let me do big quotes, free. I mean, if it's free, I don't think anybody's really charging for support these days, but you're all paying for it. And so if they're not responding to you, especially when things go wrong, then, I mean, they're not doing you a service. So pricing should include these few things. I mean, we have a little bit more, but these are very kind of critical components to pricing.
Yeah. So, and then also, talking about support, where is their support located? You want to be sure that it's not outsourced support. I mean,
if you're in an English-speaking country and that's their third language, you're probably not going to be able to communicate well with the support.
Yes. So how helpful are they really going to be?
Right. And so you are paying for this, whether you think you are or not. It's not just kind of optional. But if you are paying for it, which you should be, because it's an included service, then you need to make sure that you can communicate clearly. If you're in an English-speaking country, your support team needs to speak natively English. And I'm not saying support has to be right in the U.S. I mean, it can be in Canada, the U.K., anywhere else that speaks English.
Same language. So, I mean, that way you can communicate properly. How are you supposed to explain to someone what issues you're having if they don't understand what you're saying, or you have to repeat yourself over and over?
What I've run into, in the tech world, we get a lot of that outsourced stuff. So I get on the phone with people, and I don't want to have to slow down when I'm talking. If I'm speaking to another technical person that's doing some sort of support for somebody, let's say Amazon, and I get on the phone and I'm like, hey guys, this is what's happening. Blah, 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 blah. I want to make sure that they know what I'm saying. I don't want to have to slow down. I don't want to have to use a different word that's easier to understand.
Absolutely.
Like, they need to know what I'm talking about. And so it's a major problem. And I think there's 2 or 3 different companies that use outsourced support. What was it, one company? Yeah. Oh my God, it was Nightblind. They were using support that, remember, somebody had called their support line and ended up in some different countries.
That's what I was trying to bring up this morning. Yes, and it ended up somewhere else with a different, a completely different platform. It wasn't even the support for that specific company.
Yeah, something had happened. Their phone line got rerouted to somebody else's support center, also in a different country, and it was very bracing for the person that we spoke to. Obviously they transitioned to Pawfinity not long after that. But that's just something that you don't want to have to deal with. So what are you paying for? You're paying for support that speaks in your native language. You're paying for people that know what they're talking about, and so you make sure you're getting that. And lastly, on the thing, number 5 for the stuff that you're paying for is commercial servers. So the commercial grade servers are a completely different type of thing. It's basically like a heavy duty truck versus like a Ford Ranger or something that's really small. They're just not made for the same things. So there are actually a few companies that are using completely, I don't know what public domain, I don't know what the opposite of commercial would be in this context, but they're using normal people's business
it's
servers.
Not meant for high volume.
No, it's not. They're not commercial grade
a lot
servers.
Of traffic, yeah.
The anti-commercial grade. I should come up with a standard grade. I don't know. Anyway, they're not using commercial servers to run the software systems, and you're just messing with disaster there.
Yeah, well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
GoDaddy. Somebody was hosted on GoDaddy.
Someone was, and then we had one hosted on, I think, WordPress or something.
Well, that was WordPress as a function. That's not what we're talking about here.
Okay. But I mean, if you're not using those commercial grade servers, when you start to get some volume on it, start to get some people on it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it'll start to slow down and grind and come to a halt because it's not really built for that.
And it can, but there's a lot of things that go wrong. They give priority to certain companies that are paying them for different size units and stuff. It's basically shared servers that you're using in the public domain there, and the resources are getting taken up by somebody. So you're taking them up, or they're taking them up, and it's just you're not dedicated. Your performance is not dedicated anymore. And we do have some transition. Anybody that's watching this that's in tech is going to be like, well, technically you're not right because I don't really care about the details about this. I know what this is, and the point of what I'm saying is that when you have a commercial grade server, you can dedicate your resources and know your traffic and keep the performance exceptional for your particular clientele. So you as a pet pro can get a reliable system like we have here at Pawfinity that runs all the time regardless, because we can control that entire private network, the entire environment, and make sure that it's secured the way we need it to be. Now, granted, you have things, some of this, I don't know, DigitalOcean, whoever. There's a bunch of let's just say public domain style servers out there that will do the hosting for you. They'll take care of it for you. Rackspace is one of those that will do it for you, which is good, kind of. But there are downsides because you don't control the environment for your clientele. So, in my opinion, from my point of view, and this is very subjective, commercial servers are the only option because your team should be controlling the delivery to your clientele. And so, make sure that the company that you're paying is controlling the delivery of your very important business software and not outsourcing it to somebody from GoDaddy.
Yeah, that's
true. That's not commercial servers, guys. It's you've seen commercials or you've heard jingles on the radio or whatever, but they don't provide things that we should be using to service you. So our number 2.
What are you getting? So now you're paying for a software. What are you getting for the amount you're paying each month? Right.
Yeah. Challenge that marketing propaganda against the actual delivered product. So everybody's the best software on the market. Everybody's the most secured.
Number one.
What was I saw in I think it was 2014? I coined the phrase industry leading infrastructure and then industry leading security.
And now everybody
has it.
This and that.
All of a sudden, everybody has this.
There can only be one number one.
There's only one person leading the industry, and I'm going to tell you that it's none of the other companies because we're still on the top of that. What is it? What's that? 8 years later? Almost 9 now. So
what are you getting? A challenge market. The other one. There was a company that said they were.
That's down here.
Okay. Yep. Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So we're not just ragging on companies. We're trying to give you guys information to help you make a decision. Is it too much? Is the pricing too much? I'm going to tell you that 90% of the products, the pricing, yes, is too much. So we're challenging that propaganda, and then we're just contact the company and challenge them. I mean, if they say something and it's not even close to being the truth, reach out to them and be like, look, you're not, because Pawfinity's beating you. Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, I had to drop that in there. I had to.
But yeah, I mean, you hear people say things all the time. Even kind of touching into our last subject, coming up with their own features, starting their own things, and they're not actually doing that. So definitely you can challenge that propaganda. But moving on, monitor their uptime firsthand. So if they're saying, 100% uptime history or whatever ridiculous numbers that they're giving, It goes back to the counters. That's what
the counters, those website counters. Okay, so number one, looking at pricing and all the other stuff when you guys are buying software, forget about the counters. You'll see them. They're numbers that roll as you scroll down the page. We've
10
serviced
million clients served.
Yeah. We just today did 14,000, appointments this second. It's ridiculous. None of those counters are real. You can fudge all those.
Yes.
Because they're not actually pushed by database usually. I mean, you can if you get an advanced one, but I don't know anybody that's starting at 0.
Yes.
Yeah, so monitor that uptime firsthand. What does that mean? So you're going to end up checking, like, do you have access to your software? I mean, period. And if you don't, when you look down their history, like some of the companies have those history charts of their uptime, and it says like there was no issues ever. And last week you had an issue, and this week you have an issue. Well, obviously that chart isn't real, so you're paying for something that you're not getting.
Yeah, and let me just say that opposite of like the popular belief, downtime is not something regular.
It's not typical.
It's not. No, and we talked about that a few episodes ago.
Your software should not be going offline.
Yeah, there's an episode all about downtime. So it's not just something that all cloud software happens. No.
And one thing that you can do also is run security tests to see if this company actually performs their task. So because you're paying for it, you're paying for the security, but are you really getting it? And that's something I'm going to guarantee you is an absolute no. And we have a chart here. There was a company that had claimed, where are we? Oh, do I have the screen split still?
Secure.
I think they were trying to be funny with that. But the case in point,
F.
Yeah, they got the worst security score on any software that we've ever second worst. The other one was based out of China and has recently relocated themselves someplace in the United States as far as they let us know. So
this morning, we ran a few security tests here, and these are all on the same type of page for each website. And I didn't put the company name on here to help the companies, but you'll see here that a lot of people just don't take their security seriously.
Let's have a look at what they say.
And I put the comments that they put on their sales website regarding security. So you have a few of them with D's and F's that made absolutely no comments about their security. You have one with an A+ who literally says they have...
let's run down this list.
Yeah.
I think that's a better way to go. So an A+, the company claimed bank-grade encryption, multi-layer firewalls, and extensive app protection. That's the only A in the entire chart. Moving down, there was a D, no comment. F, no comment about security. Another D. Somebody who had a B-, and they claim that we have a secure system where your data and the data of your pet parents is of the utmost importance. But apparently it's not.
Yeah, because B-.
So let's be clear about this. This is application level security. There are two different types. One is on the server itself, which out of the box, your server will generally get an A on a score like this. So we're not talking about that. If you get less than an A, you've broken something, and you need to hire somebody that can do a little bit better job on securing the server. But this is application level where most of the exploits happen. They're not happening on the back end on the server. They're happening through the code, and this is what we're looking at. So you're paying them for security, but they're failing. This company does say that they focus on it a little bit, and they scored a B-, which is higher than the others. However, that's not sufficient in my... the next one. So
we take security seriously.
So they scored a D.
They actually got like a 35% on their security.
Yeah, so scoring a D and taking security seriously is not it. So this is one of those things, propaganda not matching up with what is actually being delivered. They're not giving you what they said. So at that point, as a purchaser, as a consumer of software, I would be very concerned with all the rest of the stuff that they say they're taking seriously.
Because now they're just making claims.
Right. So next on the list, we have a B-, security best practices built in, but that's not necessarily true if you're catching a B-. And then the last one was F, and they didn't speak about security, and we know why, because they don't have any access on it. Now, I mean, I'm sure you guys can understand, since the comments we've made before, all the comments everywhere that we've ever made, we always focus on security. So the A+ was us, and of all these are what is it? How many is there? 8?
Yeah, I did the most popular
is there 8
companies.
Out of the 8? Let's just say there's 8. I didn't count it.
How many, yeah.
Out of the 8 on the list, we're the only one that scored an A+ on this. But this is one of the most important things that you can have inside your system is good security.
You're storing, it's your business information. If anything happens, that's your business. Like, what are you going to do without your clients? What if something happens?
Yeah. So as far as pricing goes, make sure you're getting what you're paying for. There's tricky price schemes. That's our number 3 in the list here, tricky price schemes. And let's then just give a quick rundown about these ones. The first one.
Yeah, so paying per appointment, that's a tricky way to make it seem like it's more affordable.
Was it like 50 cents an appointment the one company does or something like that?
69 now.
Oh, wow, they raised it. I think it was like 45 when they first started.
But then, and if you do like an average of 5 drinks a day, 5 days a week,
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you keep talking.
And it was like $50 a month or something. So it was the same as the other ones, but when you break it down in that per appointment price,
65.
it made it seem more affordable.
What do we have? How many appointments a day are we doing here?
Let's do 5 appointments
so just
a day.
5 appointments. Whoops. 65. Keep talking. Yep. I'll figure it out.
And then, so let's jump to the next one, paying per user. So you shouldn't have to pay per user at all. That's an old pricing model that has been depreciated quite a long time ago. So if you're still paying by user, that's just a tricky way to get you in at a cheaper price. And then they're kind of forcing you to use only one profile if you do want to keep it at that lower price. And I mean, that has a whole nother basket of things that you shouldn't be doing. Paying per device. Go
ahead. So it looks like, I mean, I did some crazy math. If we were open 7 days a week at that, doing $5 a day, that's $91 a month that you paid for that per appointment software. And that's way too much for what you're getting from that particular company. We'll leave them alone. How do we go? Pay them for a device and then low price. Yeah, I mean, unforeseen costs and low price, those both kind of go together. But let's talk about the last one in that particular list of the tricky price schemes. Night Blind software has a tendency of giving you a low base price and then inflating it to the infinity as you start using the software. So we see that, I think it starts at like $35 a month or something like that.
Something like that,
But somehow it manages to balloon from that base price all the way up to like $150 plus a month, depending on which one of the 5 different products they offer that you're using. I know the one with the connections, you have to do this remote connect, this PC connect thing to use the software in different devices at home or whatever. That gets very pricey very quick. And so those are tricky price schemes. I mean, just keep an eye out. If there's like really fine print somewhere, you should definitely read it because this stuff can get crazy quick.
Yeah, don't let their sales staff guide you in a certain direction. Like get upfront pricing before you sign up. Well,
you want to talk to other users that actually have the software and get to know what their prices are, I would say. And, in the end, we're looking at number 4, unforeseen cost of software. And I had just mentioned the first one on this list, which was connect fees when you're using like a PC-based software that has to connect out. They're one of the biggest companies in the industry. So they, that happens a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people paying way, way over $100 or $200 a month for what equates to like $50 a month these days.
Yeah,
it just, so that if you're using software where you have one installed PC that you're connecting to all the other stuff or any of that, I mean, just get rid of it. Go to something that's web-based, whether it's us or anybody else. It doesn't really matter. You're going to save yourself a lot of money and end up with a more flexible software.
Yeah, and then there are some fees that you incur using a software which are reasonable. So if the software company is getting charged for those things that you're using, I mean, you should be expected for those fees to roll down. For instance, things like text messaging.
So text from email. So again, I think it's Night Blind. I don't know if they still do this. I hope not. But for the longest time, they had this email to text thing where it would actually store like an email address and send to this kind of SMS carrier type thing, and it would go out and then send a text message. That wasn't super great. So make sure that you're getting text messaging that's actually going through mobile carriers.
Yes.
And it needs to be two-way. I mean, again, we've innovated this back in 2015 with two-way full text messages where people could reply with full text. I mean, you send them an appointment reminder, they could write back, hey, I can't make that. Can I move it to a certain day? And then you can write back, and so it's two-way communication.
Makes it easier for everyone.
If you're paying for that, you're getting what you're paying for, whether it be us or anyone else. I mean, within reason. I heard from a client last week or the week before on the phone. I think one of the other companies is charging like 12 cents per message for text right now. And she's like, wow, yeah, this is way cheaper. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's good because I feel like we're still on target. I mean,
12 cents per message is really
that's
high.
A lot.
Yeah.
10, 12 cents per message. Or if the company's trying to sell you this big, huge package of text messages, that's not for you. That's for them.
Yes.
I don't see any reason to do that either in particular. I mean, I can't see any motivation. I can't see any benefit to the client, the pet pro, in buying a huge package. Didn't you say one company has like a $500 package of text or something like that?
Yeah, and they try to push that.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like $500 in text messages. I mean, so with Pawfinity, you pay per text, and this isn't an advertisement. I'm just giving you an example because I think that our price model is fair. You pay 5 cents per outbound text, and then the responses from your clientele they're free. The average grooming salon is paying maybe between $6 and $12 a month in text messages. So to get to 500, I mean, that's a lot. You could spend.
Yeah.
Whew, I would like to do the math. I can't do the math at the top of my head because whatever, but that's a lot of text. I mean, you'd be paying for like the next 3 years of text messaging. Not literally. I mean, it's about $100 a year.
Let's see how much they do it per text.
$500. You're only paying $120 a year in text at 10. Yeah, so you're talking like 4 years worth of text messages. So that's crazy. You're crazy. Whoever's charging that is nuts. So don't pay that. I mean, that's just that's unreasonable. And when they are trying to sell you a package, cut it down. Figure out how much you're paying per text. Again, like our rate is 5 cents per text, and it's been that way for the last like 8 years. Now, granted, maybe we're off market with our pricing. I mean, Pawfinity, I know because I've been looking at some prices. People brought me prices the other day, and I was actually very surprised to find some very, how can I say, limited feature software.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
That's priced out the same as Pawfinity. I mean, we're still $50 a month, which is ridiculous, in my opinion, for grooming and training or a boarding facility. If you do both, then it's $90 per month. But we're probably, on our groom and train, we're probably 50% off market value. But that doesn't mean that the features are small. So Pawfinity still has the widest feature set in the industry. Let me mic drop for a second. I'm just going to give people an opportunity to try to rebut that because we do still have, we've been innovating and all of that to keep it going, but the price just hasn't gone up.
Well, one of the reasons you do that, and let me just make a disclaimer, this is our unique story. This is his unique story here, is to keep it affordable for all businesses. So anywhere from your small business all the way up through your large corporations.
Yeah, we could have talked about why the pricing is there, but I can't tell you why the pricing of the other companies are there. Actually, you know what? I can. I do have an example here if you guys are still looking, if you want to pull up the screen. It's very difficult to read this because it's so small, but what I will tell you is that the original founder of Cinnamon Software, he launched back in 2015, and in this document that you're looking here, which is basically a forum post, he mentioned, and I will quote, let's see, in the end, we priced at $100 a month or $1,000 a year. It's higher than everyone else, which implies a better product, kinda. I haven't run into any sticker shock yet for anyone with an existing business. We're planning on raising the price 20% for new customers within 6 months. So in that comment, and as I always tell you guys, get evidence. I'm giving you evidence directly here on the screen that this particular founder chose to raise his base price when he launched his software just so people would think that it's better. That's all. So what were you paying for? You were paying for his concept that it was better than anything else that had come out.
Yeah.
Did it work? And yes, it worked. People paid it. And still to this day, they've been raising that price up and up and up, and people keep paying it, but they're not really getting that much more than they got all the way back then. So there has to be a reason that you're paying the price you're paying on your software. Otherwise, you should probably start looking around. And I'm not saying don't pay a lot. I'm not I'm not forcing you to say, buy the cheapest one. I'm not saying buy the most expensive one. I'm saying that whatever the price is, make sure that they're delivering on what they're promising.
Paying. Yeah, absolutely.
They have to give you something. So, for example, if the company we just mentioned has no features greater than Pawfinity, and also we have more than they do, in fact, the online booking we're leagues ahead, and also in the POS, like cash register and inventory handling, we eclipse them. If you're getting more from one software that can actually prove that to you, and you're paying half as much or less, well, I mean, that speaks for itself. So.
Exactly.
And others like storage fees and stuff like that. So, you could have companies charging for document storage. We do, but it needs to be something of value. Encrypted storage.
Yes. Yep.
If you're using unencrypted storage, it's so cheap from our perspective that there's no reason you should pay for it.
It should be already included in that standard monthly price.
Right. Your users, like paying per employee, that's ridiculous because it literally costs the software company nothing. Paying per appointment, again, it's ridiculous because it costs us nothing. You could put 1,000 appointments on your account this month, and my costs don't raise at all. I'm pulling back the veil here because this is ridiculous these days.
Well, the only reason they do that is to make it more affordable. Like some companies, when they break down monthly prices of things, they'll say it's only the cost of 1 cup of coffee a day. So when you think of that smaller cost, you're like, okay, that's not so bad. But if you see the big number, you're like, holy moly, how am I going to afford that?
Yeah. So but it ends up being the bigger number anyway. That's actually that's old school sales technique. That's what that is. They teach salesmen and women and people of all types, they teach you to break it down. You break it down to something that's more consumable for the client or the person that's buying.
Exactly.
But they don't ever want to add that back up. Like when you're buying a car, like how much do you want to pay a month? Oh, dude, chill out, man. Like, what does that even mean? Like, how are we working that out? All you're doing is making my loan longer. Like,
exactly. But if you look at a $300 payment versus a $750 payment, I mean, that $300 is going to look better.
It looks better until you really break it down and you realize they're lying to you.
Yeah, you're still paying the same amount.
I guess it's not lying. It's more deceiving you. And none of that's deceiving. Yep. That's not cool. So lastly on this list of like kind of surprise charges, email. If they're charging you for emails, that's ridiculous these days because it has almost no cost impact on the business at all. I'm telling you, we spend, again, it's nothing. Like you guys can send 100 emails and it literally costs us $0. So don't do that. Don't pay for email. Don't pay for unencrypted storage. And if you're getting budget text messaging, I mean, it's got to be included. But if it's included in your monthly subscription, then you're likely still paying for it anyway. So they're removing some of the other stuff from the services that you should be getting.
And just raising the price to cover some of that text messaging.
To roll in some of it, yeah. So it's like a little bit of give and take. They take away some stuff, but in the end, it comes down to, pay for what, get what you pay for. Pay for what you get.
Make sure that what you're paying for is what you should be getting.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of companies out there, guys, a lot of software, and we try to keep this as objective as possible while using examples, real world, to give you evidence of what we're talking about, back this up with solid things. And they really are, like a lot of these companies are just throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks. I'm just going to charge it. Oh, there's one, the GroomPro POS knockoff. So we were originally called GroomPro. Somebody else happened to try to take our name on just as we transitioned to Pawfinity. They changed their price scheme from it
went from like 35 to like 120 back to like 70,
then up to like 300 at one point. Yes. They charged like $300 a month,
all over the place.
And so their product hadn't changed, and this is what we're saying, guys.
No new features at all. Nothing has changed. They just try to see what would stick better with their clients.
And that's ridiculous. So obviously it's not a company you want to go with because they have no clue what the value is of what they're selling.
Yes, exactly. So you want to make sure that the company you're with knows the value of their software.
Right. It could be anybody.
Exactly.
It's not. I'm not talking about just coming to us. I'm talking about whoever you're using. Yes. If you're using somebody that's doing some of these shady things, these are some tips that you can use to find out. Like, does it deliver? I mean, go back to the browser focus. So I could show. Let's see here. Are they on this list where they score and what was it? What was the worst score than where they said security? D. So this company has a D in security, but they say they take security seriously. If you're using that company, I mean, jump ship, please.
Are they really taking it seriously? Obviously not. And if this is what they mean as seriously,
then yeah.
I mean, I would question other things.
I'm sure they have downtime. I'm sure their software is slow. And if it's not slow, that's because they have no clients yet. And once they start getting busy, it's going to slow down more. So, at least go up to the companies. There were 2 companies with a B-. That's not so bad. But... I mean, if I were paying for stuff, I would probably shoot for the one with the A+. That's because why would I pay for something that's scoring a D and an F?
Yeah, these are all the most popular ones. I didn't leave any of them out just because they scored better. These are the most popular software options out there. So.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think this was a good episode to talk about all this stuff. I don't think there's anything else to share with the.
I think we should go into security in a future.
We're gonna work through that because security is one of those things that you just.
I mean, it's so important. You don't think about it because you would think that your software takes it seriously, but as you see,
it's like it's like a doctor. You go to let's go to the dentist because the doctor could be touching anything. You go to the dentist, right, and you think the dentist has washed his hands. He's all up in your mouth working on your teeth and stuff. Yeah, but that's what you take for granted. You assume that the dentist wash their hands. But what if they didn't?
Yeah.
So when you go to a software, you assume that they took all the proper steps to make sure that it was secure and make sure that it performed and it was reliable.
But what if they didn't?
But what if they didn't? And you have to check that. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. Go up and sniff your doctor's hands or something, your dentist's hands.
Did you wash your hands?
Yeah, but if they didn't, I don't know. But we're just getting crazy now. But
he says,
yeah, exactly. But that's the truth, guys. And so we're trying to help you kind of sift through the BS as we always do. Get down to the right information. Whoever you're using with software, more power to you, because like I said, it's like art. Each one fits a different type of client.
Yeah.
We find that the Pawfinity clientele is very similar in a lot of aspects. So there's a certain type of people that tend to come to our software, and it doesn't necessarily fit the type of people that are at different software, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's very much true.
As long as that other software is doing the right thing for you guys.
Yep.
And that's my biggest concern, that they're all lying to you, but generally, and selling you things you don't need and telling you stuff that you want to hear. And that bothers me at my core. So I want to give you information to cut through that nonsense and make the better decisions. But yeah, that's about it. I think that wraps it up. So yeah, guys, let me start this down here. You could roll through
Tune in next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for more topics. I don't know.
We have some good stuff coming up next week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Before we leave, there was some cool update, guys. We have a couple of little neat things that popped up in the dashboard. So check your news brief at the top. Hit details on the notification,
on the green,
and then read that news brief to learn about the new stuff that we're offering you from our little patch that we launched. Otherwise, have a bootiful Monday
and a spooktacular day.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Stay safe today.